behalf of the board at this year's 2017 table host, welcome to the 5th Annual Education is Key Breakfast. This year we are thrilled to host our breakfast among both old and new friends. We see a lot of old faces and a lot of new faces out here, so thank you everybody for coming. Besides having another outstanding educator and student to honor today, we are very excited to welcome the keynote speaker, Dr. Michael Rich, a Harvard medical professor and the founding director of the Children on Media and Child Health. Throughout the years, this breakfast has raised over $150,000 for the children and families in the Tampa Bay area. So we're very proud of this breakfast, and I can see that it is continuing to be a great event, bringing both new friends and old friends here. So we encourage you to stay to the end of the event, and we have a few important surprise announcements about the museum that we will make at the end. But with that said, I will introduce my fellow board member, Sandy Morgan.
Okay, I'm going to be a little more boisterous. Good morning, everybody. Okay? It's 8 o'clock in the morning. You're excited, ready to start your day here at the Children's Museum. So what better way to start your day? And I just want to take a moment to thank our board members. If all board members, if you please stand and be recognized, please. Just so you know who's on our board. This is very important. Thank you all. Thank you so much. And elected officials, are you any elected officials here? I know I saw Cindy Stewart. I saw Lynn Gray. Stand up. Be recognized. Don't be recognized. Okay. And then, of course, we have our officials with the school district here today, and we're so grateful for our partnership. You know, this is about education. That's the title of this breakfast. Education is key, and that's what this breakfast is about. And it really will showcase our partnerships today. And I can't wait to share today's wonderful stories of our winners. I think you're going to be close to, I don't know if we put tissues at the table, but anyway, it'll be one of those moments. And they're going to really, again, showcase what we do every day here at the Children's Museum. It's just so important. And many of you know how much this facility means to me. The children's doing things for our children, but this Children's Museum is really helping to get our children off to the best start in life. And I do want to thank our most generous sponsors today of our 2017 Education is Key breakfast. Our gold sponsor is the Outback Bowl. And our silver sponsors, we can clap and show our appreciation after I read all the names. Casper's Company, McDonald's Restaurants, GTE Financial, Rivera Gordimer & Company, Shoemaker Loop and Kendrick, Tampa Bay Times, Tampa Children's ENT, the Sybil B. Berkman Foundation, Tech Data Corporation, the Williams Family Foundation. And I also personally like to, because I also sit on this board, is the Children's Board of Hillsborough County. Thank you, Kelly Ferris. And the Community Foundation of Tampa Bay for their continued support of our Social Responsibility Fund. And now I'd like to bring Jen Stansel, a CEO and president of the Glazer Children's Museum, up to the podium to introduce this year's award presentation and talk more about the Social Responsibility Fund. So have a good breakfast. Thank you all.
What a beautiful morning. Thank you all for being here. Today we're here to celebrate achievement and what we can do together to support Tampa Bay's children to reach their full potential. We celebrate an outstanding teacher as well as a student. We'll get advice about how screens can affect our kids positively and negatively. And we'll get a chance to talk about how you can be part of the vision of the Children's Museum that we've identified to ensure that every child can be successful. When we speak of achievement, one of our most important partners in ensuring kids succeed is our school district. Please join me now in welcoming to the stage our great partner and my friend, Jeff Aikens, Superintendent of Hillsborough County Schools.
First of all, Jen is amazing. Everyone in this community has to know this. Jen Stansel, you are amazing. And when you're in a meeting with Jen, and you've probably been in some of those meetings, number one, the energy she brings in the room just livens everybody up. But amazingly smart, but incredibly creative. And the direction, the vision of the Glazer's Museum could never be better, than with Jen at the helm. So I want to, first of all, thank Jen Stansel for everything that you do for us. And we are incredibly grateful for the partnership, incredibly grateful for the support that this community provides, not only the Glazer Museum, but ultimately the students in Hillsborough County. We've talked a lot about the classroom in Hillsborough County is not behind four walls. The classroom in Hillsborough County is throughout this region. And we have to think of it that way. We have so many educational assets across the community. Our children have got to be exposed to them as part of their learning environment and their learning trajectory. This is so important. We have thousands of students coming through the Glazer's Museum every single day. Every single year. We have teachers that are getting professional development in partnership with the Glazer's Museum. It's changing lives, and you have to know that. And everyone here that knows a little bit about the Glazer's Museum, you need to find out more about it because of all the opportunities it provides for our students. I'm incredibly grateful. Our children all have hopes and dreams. They will never come true unless we all as a community embrace them, and the Glazer's Museum is just one of those educational assets that provides the opportunities for our students to be successful now, but have that hope and that vision for their future and help all those hopes and dreams come alive. And come true. So thank you, Jen, for your leadership. Thank you to the board. Thank you to my board for supporting all the students here in Hillsborough County and what you do. I have the distinct pleasure to introduce an integral player in the connection between Hillsborough County Public Schools and the Glazer's Children's Museum. And that is Ms. Barbara Hancock, who's going to come to the stage right now, our Instructional Leadership Director for Elementary Education. Let's welcome Barbara.
Good morning, everyone. I am so proud to serve as the chair of the Education Committee for the Glazer Children's Museum. So we get to review all of the amazing applications for our outstanding educator and student. And it's my privilege this morning to announce that Tina Cook from Burney Elementary is our outstanding educator. And we're going to see a little sneak preview of why she is so amazing.
When it comes to outstanding educators, it's hard to think of a teacher that goes above and beyond the job description more than Tina Cook. Tina, the gifted teacher at Burney Elementary School, loves science and works hard to help her students see just how much fun the world of science can be.
Well, I'm passionate about science because I feel like it's one of the easiest ways to get our students interested and engaged in the classroom. All students that I reach out to and talk to want to learn about the world around them, which is what science is. So once I engage them, they're more apt to learn and they're excited about it, which that excitement also leads to a passion. So I'm basically passing that passion from me to my students every day as much as I can.
But her commitment to students goes far beyond the classroom walls. Her colleagues say you can often find her in the cafeteria, eating and talking to students. What the school calls a Munch and Learn, where Tina works with small groups, developing their problem-solving skills. She also works with the school's SPARK program to identify, screen, test, and serve gifted students from low-income families.
Her small groups are very engaging. The students look forward to going to see her and do their activities each day. They are on topics that interest the students. She's able to expose them to a lot of things that they may not be exposed to in science and technology careers through school that they may not be able to get at home. Tina's dedication to our students here at Burney is amazing. The students look forward to her lessons. Her energy is infectious. They absolutely adore her.
Tina knows how exciting learning new things can be and has written several grants for the school to purchase equipment for additional science experiments. She creates lesson plans that allows 5th graders to teach lessons to a group of 2nd graders, and she has even brought the GEMS program, Girls Engaged in Math and Science to Bernie. The program brings in women working in science and math careers to share how much fun math and science can be. Her students say they love all their teacher does to make learning fun and exciting.
Well, Ms. Cook has pushed me to be a better student and a better person in general. And I love her class because she has inspired me to do many things. And I'm going to never forget the trip to Tampa Bay Tech that we took last year, which has inspired me to be a veterinarian.
Tina says she never dreamed of recognition for the work she does each day. She says she is doing what she loves for the students that mean so much to her.
Well, I work hard for our students, or for my students, because I think every student deserves the best. Whether it be through engaging them in science, the Spark program, which is basically set up so I can go into the classrooms and find these students that have been overlooked, for the gifted program, any of those opportunities that I can give to these students and just be their advocate, that's what keeps me driven every day to come to work every day and to look for those students and let them know I see you, you're important, and I know how smart you are and I believe in you.
Join me in welcoming the Glazer Children's Museum 2017 Outstanding Educator, Tina Cook.
You know, when I started out to be an educator, I felt like my job was to make my students feel special, to let my students know that I saw them and how smart they were, and also just to encourage them to be the best they could be. In this journey that I started with the Spark program, I truly believe that I get to do that every day. It allows me to go into classrooms and find those students that sometimes might be overlooked. And so I honestly feel like it's my pleasure to be able to go and do that every day for our students. But I also didn't realize along this journey as an educator how those students would make me be the one who felt special, let me be the one who was encouraged, and let me know that what I'm doing every day makes a difference. So in my mind, this award really is for the students and the ones that I teach. Thank you so much for this award.
Now I'd like to welcome Judy Bryson, who is a fellow member on the Education Committee, to name our student.
Good morning. Thank you, Barbara. It is always an honor and a privilege to review the applicants for Student of the Year, the award winner. And this year's award winner is she has shown remarkable courage, tenacity, and integrity. And I think you'll see why she's an inspiration to all of us by the video clip. And this is one of those pregnant moments. Oh, thank God.
To see Ada Vasquez today, confident, successful, and ready for high school, you would never know the struggles it took to get here.
Miss Ferguson, she definitely helped me throughout education, like through my second grade year that I had her, and all the way through fifth grade, she was there for me. She made sure that I had education, that I did everything I could by, maintaining my grades, passing all the tests, giving me after-school tutoring. She was honestly there for me, and she helped me with so many struggles, being the fact that I moved around a lot. She helped me make friends, she helped me become more sociable and, talk to students more, and she's honestly the reason why I make sure education is very important to me.
But after leaving the comfort of the elementary school that had come to mean so much to her, Ada had trouble finding her way as a middle schooler and failed the 7th grade.
Honestly, repeating the 7th grade was a major setback for me and my family too as well. But not only that, I feel like I let my 2nd grade teacher down, Miss Ferguson, who, like I said, she made sure education was a very big part of my life. So failing the 7th grade because of personal choices that I made, I felt like I did let her down. I mean, she didn't even have to necessarily be there for her to know that I failed 7th grade, but I know in my mind if she was here today, if I got to see her, I know she'd be like, so I know failing 7th grade definitely was a very bad decision that I made from not doing my work.
But through this difficult time, something clicked for Ada, and she was determined that she would be successful no matter what. Her teacher said she was motivated, focused, attentive, and helpful.
Well, Ada this year, this is her 2nd year in Avid, and she, right from the beginning, has been one of my top students. Coming in on a day-to-day basis, she is organized, she is prepared for class, and even more so, she is committed to her schoolwork. She stays after to get the extra help she needs. She'll come in and get the extra tutoring along with helping mentor the other students. So she just goes above and beyond to do what she needs to do to be successful in the classroom.
Now as an 8th grader, her grades are phenomenal. She's on the honor roll, participates in the Avid Club, and helps tutor and mentor younger students.
In reading, I've been doing really good because of Ada. She really wants me to understand what the whole main idea is. She wants me to comprehend, and any words that I'm not familiar with, she lets me look up in the dictionary and just helps me, and she's the best.
With it. One of the things with Avid we do is we open up our classroom Tuesday through Thursday for all grade levels, so 6th, 7th, and 8th. And Ada comes in during 4th period and helps with the other students that come in. If students come in that need math help that I don't know because I was not a math content area teacher, I will pull Ada over. Hey Ada, do you know how to do this? She will sit down and work with those students. She also works with her younger sisters who are both in 6th grade here and mentors them and works with them often.
Ada is now taking virtual classes to earn high school credit, and she will enter high school next year as a sophomore. Despite her setback, she will graduate on time with her class.
I am very relieved that I can be able to graduate my class of 2020 because after hearing that the STAR program at Webb was completely done, I was like, wow, there's really no way for me to do this. But then I got with my assistant principal, Miss Leahy, and she told me that there still is a way for me to graduate with your class, and that was online school. So I was very relieved and I was very happy that all I had to do was take one online class and I'd be actually set to graduate my junior year, but I'm still graduating with my class. So I was very happy, and by doing this, I had to make sure I made good grades, I was doing my work, and even helping others made me feel better about myself and wanting to graduate early.
Please join me in awarding Ada Vasquez the Student of the Year.
But I would like to dedicate my award and all my hard work to my lovely family and for all of their hard work they have put for me to do well in education. So, thank you. Love you.
Let's please have another round of applause for Ada and for Tina and their stories and their achievements and their inspiration. Thank you so much. Just by the way, it happens to be Take Your Child to Work Day, and Maddox and here and Giovanni are here to give those awards. So let's give them a little round of applause. Appreciate that so much. All right, awesome. Okay, so today's guest speaker has a lot to share with us about the role of screens, imagination, and play in our children's lives, which is exactly why I wanted to bring him here to the museum. As some of you know, I have the pleasure of creating my own show for PBS about parenting. My wonderful producer said one day, I found this incredible guest. His name is Dr. Michael Rich, but he calls himself the Mediatrician. Say that again? What? He calls himself the Mediatrician. So he's a media expert and a filmmaker who turned into a pediatrician, she said. I was enamored immediately. He even came with his own catchy name and brand. All right, this is like the Jen Stansel version of He Had Me at Hello. Michael came to Pittsburgh and did our show and talks on our community and schools. He was fun, he was inspiring, and he was approachable, which comes in handy when his tips are so refreshing and important, and yet sometimes counterintuitive to us as parents. He told us how to talk with your pediatrician about kids' media diet. He shared how using punishment around screens wasn't necessarily the right approach. And he shared how, in essence, screens were a window into the world. Today, his work on the media landscape and its impact on children and health continues. His research at Harvard is groundbreaking, and he's here to share the amazing things he's found studying both kids and parents' relationship to screens. I can't wait for you to hear his wisdom and ideas about the role of technology and play in the lives of our families. Please welcome the founding director of Harvard's Center on Media and Child Health, Dr. Michael Rich.
Thank you for having me, Jen, and I wish my mom could have heard that. I hate being caught behind the podium, so if you guys can't see me or hear me, just let me know. But I like to be out near the people. I want to talk to you today about something that I should turn my notes on too. That you already know a lot about. That you have a lot of experience with, but a lot of people also have a lot of questions and concerns about. And part of the reason for that is that as we've looked at the screens in our lives, starting with television, in the early 50s, there were congressional hearings to determine whether shows like Gunsmoke were contributing to juvenile delinquency. And from that point on, we have discussed this as a values-based discussion. Right and wrong, good and bad, freedom of expression versus child protection and child health. And I, as a parent first, but as a pediatrician and a child health researcher, think we need to reframe this discussion and to look at it the way we look at nutrition or injury prevention. Let's get the data. Let's get the science. Because if you have a values-based discussion, and think about how we talk about screen. We talk about the boob tube, the idiot box, right? We talk about it making us fat, stupid, and violent. Instead, we should think about it as how are we changed by the screens we use and how we use them? And how can we use that change to promote the better angels of our nature, as Abraham Lincoln spoke, and not to fall into the pitfalls that some of them have created. So let's start with 73% of American households say this is the way they eat the family meal together. What happens is that they lose perhaps the single most protective thing you can do for your child's health. Not just their nutrition, their physical, mental, and social health of a family meal together without screens. Kids who are developing their language get 39% fewer conversations, fewer verbal utterances with their parents when their parents have a screen on, whether it's a television or a smartphone. And let's think about this. How many times have you seen this? Look how smart my baby is. My baby can touch the picture of a cow and make it go moo. Dirty little secret. Every baby can do this. This proves how smart Steve Jobs was. the most transparent interface between a thinking machine and a human ever created. 97% of kids in the first 4 years of life use mobile devices, and 90% started before the age of 1. Most 2-year-olds use one daily. If you don't believe me, go into any restaurant and see what parents do the moment they walk in. They hand devices to their kids. In fact, you can go to Chili's right now, and they advertise that they'll hand an iPad to your kid as they walk in the door. 70% of parents say they do it so they can get things done. 65% to calm a child. I always thought Angry Birds was a great way to calm a child. 29% to put their child to sleep. Now, there are a couple of problems with that concept. First of all, as Angry Birds is on, but they're also staring into blue morning light, which suppresses melatonin secretion, which we need to fall asleep. 3/4 of all 4-year-olds now own their own device, and 1/3 of them are already multitasking with 2 or more screens at the same time. So, how does this all play itself out? Well, I'm sure you're well aware that since 1999, the American Academy of Pediatrics has discouraged the use of screens before the age of 2. And when we first came out with that, there was a lot of backlash, as you might imagine. How can I get dinner on the table if I can't put my kid in front of the television? Which sort of begs the question of how we as a species survived without eating dinner until 1947. But the thought behind it is this. First of all, there is a lot of research, particularly in education, that has shown that under the age of about 30 months, receptive screen media, as in television, is not a teaching tool. Kids don't learn anything significant under the age of about 2.5. And the reason for this is that we end up with the most complex brain in the animal kingdom, in part because we're born with an embryonic brain. Every other animal is able to survive, is able to find food, is able to cling to mommy's fur. Human babies are utterly helpless and dependent on others for survival. But that means we get to build this in response to this, in response to the environment in which we live. And the way it does it is, we're born with all the neurons we're ever going to get, but we build synaptic connections between those neurons, so many so that in the first 2 years of life, our brain triples in volume. Demand forms those connections. The challenges, the stimulus from the environment forms those connections. The other thing that is happening in those first 2 years of life, but really throughout life, is we're pruning away billions of synaptic connections. Why would we want to cut them away? Well, remember that newborn baby has the Moro reflex and everything. Do this. It's so we can improve our signal-to-noise ratio, and we can recognize that sound as the nursery door opening, or that pattern of light and dark as mommy's face. So, disuse results in pruning. Now let's think about screens. One of the things that we know about early neurodevelopment is what does stimulate complex, resilient brains. The first and perhaps most important is human interaction. Interacting with mommy, daddy, getting things done. Acting on the physical environment. Down in the water play downstairs. Trying to get those blocks stacked up and knocked over. Get that Cheerio into your mouth. And open-ended, problem-solving, creative play. The water table, a sandbox, a piece of paper, and a crayon. Screens don't give us any of those things. They give us analogs for them, but, and you can get a finger painting app for your iPad, but it ain't figure painting, right? You don't have the tactile stuff. You don't have the smell of the paint. And you don't get that nice reaction when you smear it on your brother's face. But we have sort of convinced ourselves that they're as good. They're just as good. Here's what's happening. 0 to 1-year-olds, first year of life, are using screens for an average of 58 minutes every day. 2 to 4-year-olds, an hour and 58 minutes. 5 to 8-year-olds, 2 hours and 21 minutes. 8 to 12-year-olds, 5 hours and 55 minutes. And teenagers, 8 hours and 56 minutes. On average, across the country, every day, active use of media. Not only that, but they are multitasking 1/3 of the time, so they are exposed to 11 hours and 45 minutes of screen content every day. More time than they spend in school, in a museum, with parents, or even sleeping. Can there be too much media time? Well, we've known for 3 decades that there is a dose-response relationship between hours of television time and your risk of overweight and obesity. But we looked at these national data that generated those numbers you saw before, and we divided them into thirds. And the first thing that was interesting, when you looked at that cumulative 11 hours and 45-minute average, is where those thirds broke. The light users were only 3 hours or less a day. The heavy users were 16 hours or more a day of cumulative exposure. These kids are not even sleeping. You know, they've got the screens on. We asked them 3 questions. Do you get A's and B's or C's and below? Do you get in trouble a lot? And are you contented in life? And what was interesting was that the heavy users had twice the poor outcomes of the light users. So, once they get over this 30-month cusp, what are they learning? Well, screens have been used to teach very effectively by folks like Big Bird. Sesame Street was developed in 1969 as a way of engaging our incredible fascination with television to reach those kids who couldn't afford early childhood education. And we have over a generation and a half of research on it. And what we know is that those kids who watch Sesame Street, as compared to those kids who watch entertainment television or no television, in the age of 3 to 5, for which it is designed, are more ready for school. They have more pre-reading and pre-math skills, and most robustly, they live in a more diverse and tolerant world. Think about it. Everybody's on Sesame Street. They learn how to get along. Not only that, but we can go to these kids as high school seniors, and they are less aggressive, they place more value on achievement, and read more books, they have higher grades, and they're more creative. But not all kids are watching Sesame Street. I'm going to show you a little video clip of a research project that was done in a preschool with the 2 most popular children's shows at the time.
We took our cameras to a local daycare site, hid the cameras, and filmed the kids watching current shows of Barney and then Power Rangers. The kids reacted to Barney with...
Did we turn it up a little?
Which color do you like best?
One little boy was especially... Watch how the kids interact once the show is over. They use the maracas to make music. After watching the Power Rangers, the change was immediate and overwhelming. While some kids exploded, others were transfixed, clearly identifying with different characters. The Power Ranger message of beating someone up for a good cause was lost.
One of the wonderful things about doing research with preschoolers is that they're barbarians. We haven't yet taught them to behave themselves, but they show exactly how they respond to things. They're very immediate. Now, here's the interesting thing. We all react to the content of media. We all learn from it. One of our core projects at the Center on Media and Child Health has been to collect the good, rigorous scientific research from around the world that has looked at this interface between the media we use and how it affects our physical, mental, and social health. We have about 1,000 really good scientific papers from 15 different disciplines that have looked at media violence. And what we see time and again is one or more of 3 responses. An increase in fear and anxiety. If you think about it, our entertainment artificially inflates the prevalence of violence in the world. You'll see more mayhem on an evening of primetime TV than you'll see in your whole life, unless you're a trauma survivor. And this especially affects young kids. And we're seeing young kids who are coming in with regression in their potty training. We're seeing night terrors and nightmares, not from being exposed to any violence, but from being exposed to what their 14-year-old brother is doing in the living room on the television. We're all desensitized by it. That's why it gets more and more, because the producers need to grab our attention and make it edgier. And in some kids, and we don't know who they are in advance, there's an increase in aggressive thoughts and behaviors. And these are the ones that society is most worried about when there's a school shooting, but this is actually the least prevalent response. Now, school shootings, as tragic as they are actually very rare events, thank goodness. But we have microaggressions happening every day in every community, in every school, most notably bullying. And one of the things that we know about bullying is that you need 3 components for bullying to occur. You need a bully, you need a victim, and you need bystanders. You let it go on. Look at how those map on to the outcomes we're seeing time and again from violent media. So the question is, are we training our children to expect a world like this? So the take-home message here is, it's not just Sesame Street, it's all media that are educational. What differs is what they teach and how well they teach it. So kids are learning from Call of Duty as much as they are learning from Sesame Street. And we have to pay attention to the fact that what we feed a child's mind is as important as what we feed the body. We can walk down the grocery store aisle and know exactly what you're putting into our kids' bodies. We cannot do that to the media they're using. And don't be fooled by the rating systems. They are not there to protect children. They are there to protect the industry from censorship. And they shift 1 full ratings point in the movies every 11 years. Because what the people who are asked, who are not child developmentalists, are, what would you allow your child to see? And with shifting social values, the ratings shift. Half of kids and over a quarter of parents think they're addicted to their devices. 41% of kids and over 3/4 of parents feel that when they're talking to the other one, they're distracted. Whether or not they're getting a signal, they're distracted waiting for one. And almost 3/4 of the kids and almost half of the parents feel that when they get pinged, they need to respond right now. What does that do to our conversations with each other? When the text that comes in from Merrill's shoes overrides your conversation with your child. So the question I throw out to you is our amazing connectivity reducing our connectedness with each other in deep and meaningful ways? And we know how protective that is. So I knew you have to get some medicine here since I'm a medical professor. Brain memory. Used to be that we had to find out how the brain worked by when someone had a stroke, seeing what functions they lost, or when someone had a traumatic brain injury, what functions they lost. But now we can put someone in an MRI machine and have them tap their fingers together, or sing a song, or see a color. And we get these discrete task-positive places that light up, and we know exactly what's involved with that finger tap, etc. And the researchers who do this spend months, years, really doing all of these functions. And one of them one day, in between the tasks, while someone was sitting there staring at beige plastic, 6 inches from her face, turned on the MRI machine, and look what they found. A much larger, much more diverse area. The brain lit up when they were doing nothing. So we, in our infinite wisdom, the same infinite wisdom that gave us junk DNA, which we now know is the key to epigenetics, our ability to adapt to environments and to pass that on to other kids, to our children. We call this the default mode network. The brain not doing nothing, right? But then someone asked, what was going on there? And he said things like, well, you know, the last thing you showed me was the color red, and that reminded me I have tomatoes in the garden that need to be picked. Oh God, I should have picked them 2 weeks ago. So I'll make tomato sauce with them, and I'll use Grandma's recipe. And Grandma died last year, and that makes me feel really sad. But I met a second cousin I never knew at the funeral. And that is what we do when our brains wander, our minds wander. We go from thought to sensation to memory in a way that is unique to all of us, like a fingerprint. And this is where some people feel we are building the template that we call the self, that uniqueness that is us. We are also going out in all these divergent directions and picking up seemingly random things and bringing them back and putting them together in new ways. And so one of the other areas of research we're doing now with the default mode network is to say, is this the seat of creativity? And here's an interesting thing. There are a lot of educators in the room. You probably all know about the Flynn effect. The Flynn effect is that the IQ, which we've been measuring since the late 1800s, and it measures how well we access and put together information, has been going up. The population average has been going up 10 points every generation. There are other kinds of intelligence, and there are other ways of measuring it. And there's something called the CQ, or the creativity quotient, that has been measured since 1950 and has steadily been going down on a population basis. So one of the questions I would have is it because we're so busy stimulating our task-positive brain that we're not giving our default mode network time to work? And that throws us back 100 years to a patent officer in Switzerland who used to walk to work beside the river, looking at the eddies and swirls in the river, stamping a bunch of meaningless bureaucratic papers, going back home beside the river, walking upstairs, and writing up a little thing called the theory of relativity. Late in his life, when Albert Einstein was asked, how did you come up with this incredibly complex, deep theory that no one has been able to break, no one has been able to disprove? He said, it was because I was bored. So maybe we need to bring back boredom, because that is where creativity happens. That is where imagination happens. It doesn't happen from reading every Snapchat and Instagram that comes in, because then we are just reacting external stimuli. We're not generating anything new. So I've offered to you the resources of the Center on Media and Child Health. They are there for you. Our mission is to educate and empower children and those who care for them to create and consume media in ways that optimize their health. We have to understand that this is their strongest influence on them, even more than schools and museums. I hate to say it. It has their attention and engagement, so we need to use it. And we do this in 3 ways. We do the investigation, the research. We translate that research for parents, teachers, clinicians, people who work with kids. And we innovate with media tools. I'm going to give you a quick example of each of these. One is that we are doing a project, a longitudinal study with kids 2.5 to 7 years old, checking in with them every 6 months in Mexico and in the United States, where we examine the way they play in a naturalistic way, in their naturalistic environment between their digital play and their physical play. Because today you can't study just what they do in the playground or what they do on the iPad. These kids move seamlessly back and forth between them. And we are following them for their physical, cognitive, and social-emotional development. And we're finding some really interesting things, such as physical play improves their cognitive learning, their cognitive development, not just their physical development. Board games and card games are remarkably powerful for building their cognitive and social emotional development. Think about it. How many times have you argued over whether someone was cheating at Monopoly, right? But kids are not playing them. We're also finding that kids are playing board card games less than once a week now. We're doing a comprehensive study with 3,000 kids across the province of Alberta. Their teachers say that ed tech in the schools has actually improved their teaching in a number of ways, but they're also finding that these kids have incredible increases in fatigue, depression and anxiety, and sleepiness, distraction. These kids are having a hard time because of their personal devices. And translation. We have a whole host of outreach, but one of the ones that people find most useful is our online advice column for raising healthy digital natives called Ask the Mediatrician. And I get all kinds of questions like, what is the best way to introduce screen media to our 3.5-year-old? I also got the question, how do I get my 10-year-old son to quit singing Viva Viagra in the supermarket? We answer them all based on the research in a balanced way. It's not finger wagging saying right and wrong, not the values-based thing, and they're practical, so people can go home and do that right now. And that is available at askthemediatrician.org. For those of you with smartphones, the very last slide I have has a QR code and you can go straight into it. We also have a YouTube channel, a Twitter feed, an Instagram, and Facebook. We have to go where people are. Right? These tools are not the problem. The problem, as Pogo said, is us and what we do with them. So how do we solve the digital dilemma? We don't restrict our kids. We don't take them away. We empower the digital natives because they've been using it since they've been born. And I'll give you an example of a project we did with kids addressing cyberbullying, the use of the online environment to threaten, coerce, slander, ostracize, etc. And I'm sure all of you have had brushes with experience with this. And we're brought out to the schools, and what we find time and time again is that often the schools, in the best of intents, reiterate bullying by the institution punishing the perpetrator, protecting the victim. And what really is the problem is the culture needs to be changed. The kids need to be changed. And so we sat down with the kids and we said, how can we harness those things that lead people to cyberbullying and use it to change the culture? And they came up with a program about reversing cyberbullying, using the same devices to cyber praise, to point out the things that they love in their environment, and we call it ilove.org, which, as you'll notice, is bully backwards. What do I love in my community, in my school, in my friends? So, final sort of word on how to do this when you go home. Remember that kids need a diverse menu of experience, which can include media, but also can include turning them off and taking a walk, or being bored and making shapes out of the clouds. So remember that media are tools. They're tools that do some things very well, in fact better than other things, but they don't do everything well. I know for a fact that you can drive a nail with an iPad, but it is not as good as a hammer. So use them as tools. Don't use them as reward or punishment, unless it's for reward or punishment for using them effectively. Let the punishment fit the crime, as it were. Use media with your kids. Instead of wagging your finger and saying, I hate it when you play Grand Theft Auto, sit down next to them and play it with them. I guarantee you, they will clean your clock. Why? Because your thumbs can't move that fast, besides you'll never memorize the 47 different combinations. But what you do when you do that is you're sitting down and saying, I respect and love you. I'm entering your world as your student to learn how to do this. And you get to bring in that executive function stuff like, oh, now I finally figured out how to steal cars. Let's talk about why you want to do that. But you're not coming in and wagging your finger. You're doing it as their student and as their peer. Help them develop critical thinking, to understand what they're receiving, and to learn to deconstruct it the same way we teach Shakespeare or math. Recognize that time limits are now obsolete. We can't say 2 hours of screen time a day because their homework is on the screens. And we can't decide this is good screen versus bad screen, whatever. Flip the paradigm upside down. Think of their 24-hour day as an empty glass, that they fill up with this many hours of sleep, this many hours in school. They like to play basketball, so let's put aside some time for basketball. And fill up their day and see what is left. And you're doing a number of things here. Number one, you're teaching them to be mindful about not just their media use, but everything they do, to prioritize and to manage time, which God knows we can all be better at. And so you're building that in right from the beginning, and they are owning it with you rather than you wagging your finger at them. Create with media. There is nothing better for helping you deconstruct what video is being fed to you than making video. Make a video. Realize how hard it is to make, and realize the intentionality with which you make it. Why do you choose to photograph that? What do you hope people will do in response to that, etc. And finally, and most importantly, be present for your kids. Don't be staring at your smartphone. Put them away when they're at dinner, etc. And here's the thing I'll leave you with, which will really shock you, but my patient families that have tried it have loved it. Consider taking a digital Sabbath. One day a week where it's all off. We have slid into this sense that we have to be in touch all the time. We have to react all the time. But amazing things happen when you're not responding to every ping that comes from outside. I had a mom come into me and say, my husband held my hand for the first time in 20 years because we went for a walk. You know, we did other things. And so be present for each other, and especially be present for our kids. And I offer to all of you the resources of the center. If you have a smartphone, you can shoot it there. It'll hook you right in. These are our websites. And thank you for listening.
That was so awesome. I told you, inspiring, right? Yes. Let's have another round of applause, please, for Dr. Michael Rich. He did say that it was okay that we just broadcast his speech to our 25,000 followers on Facebook. So we were live on Facebook for his speech so he could share that message with the tool most parents use to engage with one another. So we'll take your advice right away. Great food for thought for us about the key role of technology in our kids' lives. And as you know from being here, we are in the play business. We're in the imagination business. The kids that are running around our museum are imagining and constructing and being creative, that creative quotient that Dr. Rich talked about. So thank you for that insight. I again want to thank everyone for being here, but give thanks especially again to our incredible sponsors for this breakfast. Thank you to our partners. There are so many of you in the room. Thank you. And thank you for spending your morning and your valuable time with us. The museums and its innovations don't come from just one person. They come from a team. And I want to specifically thank Team GCM, an incredibly talented and energized board of directors. Please give a round of applause to our board of directors. For part of a huge equation for us and are hosting you today. And I also want to thank the incredibly talented team here, the staff here. I need to give them a round of applause because they make this equation, they make this all work for 200,000 people here. They are certainly the reason why we have been nominated for Nonprofit of the Year this year, both for the Be More Awards and now with the Tampa Bay Business Journal. We're humbled by that honor. And that reason is simply all about team. Please join me again in thanking our staff for being absolutely excellent and here for every kid, every day. In our last few minutes today, I want to summarize some of the key advances the museum has made since the debut of our Social Responsibility Fund at this breakfast last year. This monetary fund is set aside for events, programs, tools, admissions, exhibits, and experiences that level the playing field for every child. As we noted last year when we launched the Social Responsibility Fund, our effort was about two things: equity and access. By broadening our efforts, we proposed a bold vision of inclusion at the museum. And those efforts are moving forward at a rapid clip. Today, we're going to ask you to make a monetary donation to not only sustain our current efforts, but to allow us to reach further. Last year, we raised over $175,000 to support our work in social responsibility, from private businesses like Publix, from grants from our friends at the Children's Board, and from Wells Fargo, USAA, and also from you at this breakfast. Just over the course of 12 months, it means we can not only sustain the play that happens every day, but we can keep growing. We can keep being better. And we're hoping to shatter those numbers this year by expanding our services. But we do need your help. When the mayor declared that he wanted an autism-friendly city at the beginning of the month, I proudly wrote him, raised my hand. Mayor, we are already a certified autism business where our entire staff is required to be trained. And we have a free experience guide for every family for children on the spectrum. We're thrilled with that progress, but we absolutely want to do more. And we can go further with you behind us as a community. Raytheon has invested in the museum this summer, bringing a blockbuster 5,000 square foot exhibit right here on STEM. We'll begin on Memorial Day weekend. The best part, every active military family will get in free, not just to the exhibit itself, but to the entire museum during the run of that traveling exhibit. That's been Raytheon's commitment to our military families. And as a surprise announcement today, we are kicking off that exhibit. Right before it happens, we will host Robert Kirby, who has walked and worked in space at the ISF, but is a pioneer for African American engineers. I'm so excited. He'll be Facebook Living as far as I'm concerned. But he's going to kick off the exhibit with us and really emphasize STEM for minorities for us. So we're thrilled with that progress, but we can go further. I've recently been asked by the National STEM Girls Collaborative to lead a new network to support Florida girls in STEM. The museum is now receiving grants where we can train middle schools to launch programs supporting girls in engineering, cryptography, and computer science. We're thrilled with that progress, but we need to do more. Today, I have a challenge for you. We really want to leverage this technology talk and showcase our technology and play and imagination to audiences at the museum. I want to thank first Tony Salvaggio from eSmart Recycling for giving us 25 new laptops. I cannot wait to use those laptops. I cannot wait to use those on Free Tuesday, thank you Kelly Paris, and help kids not put Angry Birds on their laptops because we know the kids are using them, but put PBS and all those good tools on there. So we are embracing that and can't wait to do that. Secondly, we are going to ensure that 600 free passes go to kids to the museum who read over the summer on our county's online reading portal called MyOn. Yay! Fantastic. Glazer Children's Museum has already committed 600 free museum passes, but with your help today, we'll be able to double that number. These kids have used technology to keep their end of the summer reading bargain. Let's be committed to stopping summer learning loss by leveraging our amazing museum as a summer learning tool. And finally, we're blessed to have the most advanced motion capture lab in K-12 learning in the world. And we're the only museum to have it. Last year, $30,000 went to supporting 5,000 Title I kids visiting the museum. What would happen if we today said we wanted to double that number? What would happen if we wanted to triple that number? We would be able to help kids to overcome difficult circumstances who need a bright light, just like Ada Vasquez, who you saw named Student of the Year. She can touch the future by using the technology as a tool, as well as her own imagination. The Community Foundation has already pledged $5,000 toward our goals today. Thank you to Marlene Spalton and your wonderful team. I hope that you too will join them in this effort. On your table, you'll find envelopes to guide you through the process of either a one-time or a multi-year contribution. Feel free to give those envelopes to anyone in the museum wearing a GCM name badge, either your table host or our team that are at the back of the room today, our staff. Please leave today knowing that you have made your investment turn into play and imagination and learning for kids so that they can dream it and be it each and every day. Thanks for being with us today.
Have one link.